This relatively new invention has somehow seeped its way into our lives. Like any double-edged sword, it can help you and potentially harm you. Society is seemingly more and more hooked on these powerful platforms as time passes. Whether we are working, playing, chatting, or just gossiping, we spend endless hours scrolling through these so-called social sites. These digital domains have even managed to mold the language and give new meanings to words in the lexicon. We'll suss out social media on this week's episode of FYI. Welcome to For Your Info.
En inglés.
You got it. Hello, and welcome to a very special edition of FYI. Now, you know I've had almost every family member on this show. I talked my mom into being on the show. I talked my dad into being on the show. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we are making history here. I finally talked my wife into being on the show, and she's going to share with us today a lot of her expertise. I think you say conocimiento, pericia, or something like this. Expertise. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a nice warm FYI welcome for my wife, Diana. Hello. So welcome. I never thought I would talk you into being
me neither.
here on the... Well, some people like microphones, cameras, and like your daughter, by the way. I wonder where she gets that from. And it's not that you're a shy person, but you're normally not like, hey, everybody, welcome to the show.
Well,
you know?
I consider myself pretty shy, I gotta say.
But then you're outgoing. Eres extrovertida at times, I guess. I guess I know what you mean. The microphone,
Exactly.
What do I say? I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Exactly.
And really, I mean, you know what you're talking about. And if you make a mistake in English, don't worry about it. So, all right, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, just in case my listeners, the FYIers, don't know about you.
Okay, so this is Diana. I'm from Madrid. I'm almost 40. Jesus Christ.
Oh, boy.
My husband's name is Alberto Alonso. I don't know if you know him.
It rings a bell. That name rings a bell.
I have a little daughter, which is going to be 4 in 2 months. Jesus Christ, too.
Shout out to Lara. Shout
Lara,
out.
we love you so much.
Yes.
And as far as I know, I've always loved the internet, so that's why I'm here, I guess.
You love the internet, but you've also worked in it. You
Yeah.
were on the crest of the wave, I would even say.
Well,
Before it was the internet and something social media. So you were there at the right time, working at the right places and doing the right things.
In fact, we didn't even know that we were, how do you say?
On the crest of the wave.
We didn't even know that
Right.
at that moment, which is the coolest thing about
Right.
that.
You guys were just doing something new, innovative, but you didn't know that you were really like starting a new revolution.
Exactly.
And tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this. I mean, I know you're a writer. You had an award-winning blog. Tell us how you got involved in this digital world, in the world of not just social media, but internet.
Well, as I said, I've always been in love with the internet thing because as a creative person, you are a creative person too.
Creative.
person. I've always loved writing and reading and that kind of thing. So I was always writing on papers in my house when I was living with my brothers, my sisters, my mom and my dad. I was a teenager almost. So one day I remember my older brother was like, "Why don't you put all together in the same place? All
Like
your
organize
papers, all
it.
your writing, because I think people maybe can." Like reading you too.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit shy because I've always been shy. But the internet gave me that option, like you can share things without sharing your face at that moment. I'm
Right.
talking about 50 years ago.
What year are we talking when your brother said you need to have a blog or a website or some place where you need to get
It was
organized?
like 2005 or something like that.
2005.
So it was many, many years ago. And at that moment, you can share whatever. What I felt is you can share whatever you want to share without sharing your identity.
Your personal life or your identity. Yeah,
In fact,
sure.
I was called La Mala de la Película because I like that name. I didn't want my name to be in any of my writing. So
Right. That was your avatar.
that was my first blog, and that was the first time I was in love with the internet in general. So then the social media didn't even exist at that moment. And I was writing, I was discovering another writers, and it was like a little world that not everybody was involved in at that moment.
You guys were influencers before the term existed.
But we didn't even
You
know.
were
as I
doing
said,
new things,
because-
yeah,
but it was
blogging.
just interesting and fun, and that was a little community of writers and
Creative
Jesus.
and tech savvy, because you mixed creativity with technology.
Exactly. We were kind of making a little bit of reinventing.
Yeah,
the way of-
reinventing the way you communicate.
Exactly,
Sure.
Exactly. And at the same time, I was studying advertising because I always love brands and the branding world and all of that. So what I wanted to do is mixing both things, mixing the storytelling thing with the branding thing. And when the social media starts, and that was a possibility
You
because
said, wait, this is connecting all the dots.
exactly, because before of that,
Before that,
branding was just TV advertising.
it was print, it was commercials on TV or radio, and that was it.
It was not a conversation between branding and the consumers.
Right.
It
was just a listen to our message.
Exactly. And it works.
Yeah,
For a while. I mean, it works pretty good. You can ask your mom and all that generation.
Oh, my mom is the #1 consumer. Shout out to my mom.
Yeah, the TV, like if you guys watch Mad Men, which I recommend a lot, they give you a lot of clues about the advertising models at the 60s and the 70s and the 50s, and it was amazing.
Bernays, right? Edward Bernays is the genius. Yeah.
But it was just messages for the consumer, and the consumer just, the way they answer is buying stuff or not buying stuff.
But they couldn't participate in the conversation. No. They could just be talked at.
Exactly.
Right.
But then with the social media, what I felt was, what I felt and everybody else, I think.
Well, we felt, as I said, you were. Yeah.
Like, you can give a message to the consumers, and the consumers, they felt that we can just answer to the brands too.
Right.
What we feel about that, what we feel consuming something, if we like it, if we don't like it.
I mean, you might even be able to give the brand ideas. Oh, we never thought of that.
Exactly. So
your creative team at the brand gets bigger and bigger because you're actually polling your audience, your people.
Exactly. And it was pretty interesting because we didn't even know what we were doing. A little bit, we were like,
does anybody really know what they're doing?
It was everything very, very new, and I started really soon. I was really lucky. I started working in a social media network, which was 20. I don't know if some of the listeners
I'm sure everybody knows. 20 was bigger than Coca-Cola for a period.
It was bigger than Facebook. And
we're going to look at 20
else.
a little bit later, but yeah, you worked there from when to when? Were you at 20 roughly? Más o menos.
I don't remember, but it was like 4 or 5 years of my life. When I started just working right after my
Studies,
universities was in the end. So I was the number 32nd employee.
Oh, wow.
In that company. And we were
Wow.
pretty young. We were all of us, we were like in our 20-something.
Yeah, it was like a little startup.
It was. And our boss was North American, which was my first time working with
You're like,
people.
oh no, I got you people. Is this racism over here?
No, but it was pretty interesting. That guy was still being really smart, studying dental. And
Sure. Well,
I
just to
learned a lot.
take a little startup and turn it into the Spanish Facebook, as it was called.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty bigger than that during many, many years. In the end, Facebook is a bigger company, much more employees, much more resources.
Sure. Investors, yeah.
It wins what it wins always. But
Right.
it was a nice competition for a while.
Right. And it sounds like not just that the people using 20 enjoyed it and got it, but also that same energy was happening at the company. So it was really social. Now I feel like social media has turned us into antisocial creatures. And we're going to talk about the dark side.
Yeah.
I always like to talk about that stuff too. But let's start then with the intro, because I like to put vocabulary that I think everybody needs to know. And then we're going to define social media. And then we're going to go through a timeline of some of the biggest ones. And I want you to kind of help me describe every one. Well, the ones you're familiar with, obviously. Perfect. Okay, so this relatively new invention, obviously that part's easy, has somehow, de alguna manera, seeped into. Esto es penetrar. Water seeps into wood or a sponge.
Into. Okay.
So it has somehow seeped its way into our lives like a double-edged sword. What is this? Arma de doble filo, you say?
Arma de doble filo.
Filo, ¿ves? Me lo invento, pero bueno, ahí estamos. A double-edged sword. And I said it can help you. Of course, social media can help you get your message across. And we're going to look at the positive stuff too and potentially harm you. There's that double-edged sword. Then I said society is seemingly, pareciendo, more and more hooked every day on these powerful platforms as time passes. Then I said, whether we're working, playing, chatting, or just gossiping, because let's admit it, we all do some gossiping on social media. We spend endless hours scrolling. And scroll is desplazar.
Yeah.
Con el dedo. It's a very important word. ¿Sabes de dónde viene? De papyrus. Los estos de papyrus eran scrolls. Entonces, técnicamente, lo que estás haciendo es pasando esa ruedita.
Well, we're going to talk about that later, but that's the key.
The key there is the endless. Yeah, okay. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But pin that, como decimos en inglés. Vamos a poner una pinza ahí y lo guardamos para luego. And I said, we spend endless hours scrolling through these so-called social sites. These digital domains have managed to mold the language and give new meanings to words in the lexicon. And I mean, before when you said the word tweet, you thought of a bird. Before when you said my wall, you thought of the wall of your house.
Yeah.
Before when you said, I'm going to post it, I'm going to put it in at the post office, I'm going to mail it. So to tag somebody, era el pilla, no etiquetar. So these words that have always been with us have gained new meanings. And I think that's an interesting thing as a linguist as well. And then I said, we'll suss out social media. Y eso es explorar, suss out. So what is social media? Simply defined, social media are interactive technologies that facilitate the creation and sharing of information, ideas, interests, and other forms of expression through virtual communities and networks. Am I missing anything? I mean, that's in a nutshell, en resumidas cuentas.
It is.
All right, so when did this start? Let me test you here. I didn't tell you I was going to test you. What was the first social media site?
The first social media site, as far as I know, Mark Zuckerberg was based in the concept of the 6 degrees of separation.
Absolutely. Wow, you know it.
Well, I have to read a lot about that.
It's called 6 degrees. Y por eso se llama eso, porque estamos todos conectados.
Yeah.
The first one was called 6 degrees. That's right. And that was in 1997. It's not too long ago. It's recent.
I don't even remember pretty good, but it was something about an experiment. How far are you from Morgan Freeman?
Sure.
I think I remember it was Morgan Freeman.
In the States, we say Kevin Bacon.
Oh, it was Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon,
I don't know why I said Morgan Freeman.
Well, whatever. I got you.
Yeah, it was Kevin Bacon, exactly.
So 6 degrees. Yeah, that was the first social media website, 6 degrees. It opened in 1997. And, well, as we know, it shut down in 2001. But it wasn't, as you said, I don't remember it. A lot of people don't remember it. Just because it was the first doesn't mean it had the success of the ones that followed.
No. Well, it has to be, I mean, everything grows with the technology that supports it.
Right. So that's what I wanted to get on, because we're talking about the social media site, 6 degrees, but without the computer.
Yeah.
The internet, and as you just said, the smartphone, the device, which has really, brought it home.
Yeah.
Lo remató. That's everything there.
Exactly.
Now you have everything, all the ingredients you need.
Exactly.
So 6 degrees. Well, it didn't work too much, but we're going to fast forward to December 2002. LinkedIn is born.
We say LinkedIn.
I know you, but I refuse to say it wrong. Que es enchufado, conectado. We're LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn, you can tell me a little bit about LinkedIn because I really don't know very much, and I know you're more familiar with it. Is this the professional one? How would you define this to somebody who doesn't know?
What I really think is LinkedIn right now.
Yeah.
It's like an ego sharing.
Oh, an ego stroke.
Ego stroke.
Yeah,
Exactly.
come
It's
on. Mírame. It's turned into a Facebook of sorts or Instagram.
And sometimes I have friends that they told me that they can get hooked.
Get hooked.
They're getting hooked with that.
Oh my God, on
that
LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
to get hooked on.
Get hooked on that social network. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Sometimes I open my LinkedIn and what I see is everybody talking about themselves, how cool they are, how many degrees they have.
Sure.
And how many kids they saved this summer.
Oh my
wherever
goodness.
trip.
Okay, so it's annoying. It's annoying.
It's kind of useful.
Do
at the
people
same time.
really, let me ask you this, do people really get jobs through there?
I have
I've
gotten jobs through LinkedIn. So
Okay, so there is a professional aspect, or was a professional.
It is, but it's true that like every social network, you can express yourself, and what you do usually is express yourself as good as you can. I mean, you don't present yourself in
Right, you know, like I had diarrhea this morning.
Or
well, some people do. So I've heard people say those kind of posts.
We don't talk about how bad was the day today at our jobs. You know,
Right.
in general.
But I had no idea that LinkedIn was before Facebook and Friendster and MySpace. So
I
LinkedIn.
I didn't know neither. I gotta say.
LinkedIn. It was born December 2, because we're going in order here. So 6 Degrees, LinkedIn.
But it makes sense because if you think about it, it was like a useful tool.
Yeah. Like I remember one called Monster Jobs too. Like there was a lot that had to do with the corporate world and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sure. So I guess it makes sense. Then I remember this one when I was living in New York City. We go to March 2002. So that same year, Friendster. Do you remember Friendster?
I don't even remember Friendster.
I remember I had Friendster and Napster. I was like, everything's over here on the internet.
I remember Napster. I don't remember Friendster. I don't even think it came to Spain.
Well, because you guys were too busy with 20.
Not at the time.
Not yet. Not yet. We're getting to 20.
You know what? It was big here in 2002. The forums.
Forums, yeah.
Still being something that everybody
like Reddit or something
forget,
like that.
but but still having like a lot of activity.
Sure. I know you love the local forums in the towns.
They are really useful.
And they're great to gossip.
Exactly.
Let's be honest. So Friendster, I remember that one. This is where I start to remember from my childhood. Friendster, I didn't really use it much, but I thought it was cool because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I thought I had 2 friends and I have 100.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like, okay. So I guess that was the first thing where I was like, wow, I can be really in touch with a lot of people here with just one send.
And also collect, like the feeling of your collection.
Look at my collection of friends.
And remember, it was the time that you want to download every music, every movie. Like everybody wants to have everything.
Sure.
And nobody was watching that movies or listening to them because it was impossible.
Yeah.
Listening as much and watching as much and having as much friends.
Yeah.
But everybody likes the collecting feeling. Like
sure.
I have, I don't know, 2,100 millions of friends.
Right.
Wow.
And no time to see any of them,
Exactly.
right? So Friendster, well, that didn't last too long. Well, actually it did, but I don't remember it lasting long. It finally closed in June 2015. But again, it wasn't as big as this next one, MySpace.
Oh yeah, MySpace.
MySpace, I think, was a global one.
Yeah, that in Spain, that was really, really like something cool.
What was the guy's name? Jared, the guy, there was one guy who created, he was the Mark.
I don't remember.
Y era tu primer amigo in MySpace.
Yeah.
His no me acuerdo su nombre. I don't remember his name, but I remember that there was that. So Friendster, MySpace was from August 2000 is when it started. August 2003, excuse me. By July 2005, it reached 22 million users.
Wow.
And it was growing at 2 million new users a month.
And remember, you're talking about a year that the first iPhone wasn't even launched.
Yeah, it wasn't even out yet. That's right. Everybody
So,
was doing it on their
on their
desktop or
computer.
laptop.
Exactly. Which is
22.
crazy.
Well, I think that's where everybody realized the potential.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody said, "What? How many people? Oh, wow. We're going to collect, like you just said, we're going to collect users. We collect friends, they collect users. Cada uno quiere
They
tener el más
collect
usuarios.
your time.
And your time and your data and your energy,
Which
sure.
is-
Sure.
Yeah.
So 2 million, that's when I think people started to see the potential. And a guy, I think you might recognize his name. Well, you pronounce it differently. Mark Zuckerberg.
I said Zuckerberg.
Yeah, that's all right. That's the Spanish person.
Sorry.
Well, Facebook went live in February 2004. February 2004, it went live. In September 2009, it announced that it made money for the first time. It turned a profit. Look at how long that took. 5 years to turn a profit. Now they're making money hand over fist. October 2012, Facebook reaches 1 billion active users, 1,000,000,000. In English is a billion. And I think that's where they saw the power again that, wait, not just millions, we can have billions of people. March 2018 was not a good moment for Facebook. This is when Facebook's image changed. Because everybody was like, oh, love it. Mark's cool. He's one of us. And then Cambridge Analytica,
Yeah.
election tampering, fake news. And I think now, you tell me if I'm right here, trust in Facebook and Instagram and Mark Zuckerberg's platforms, which are 3 big ones, 0.
Well, you're right. I think it's 0, but at the same time, we're still using it every day, like more than 3 hours.
Yeah, but Facebook, I wouldn't say. I would say.
But I don't think about Facebook. You think about WhatsApp. You think about Instagram.
Sure.
Like, this is huge. Everybody I know is always using those platforms, and we're still talking about Mark Zuckerberg.
And let me ask you, has he ever had an original idea? Because the stories was Snapchat. The other was hotter. Like every idea, even from the twins, the original idea for
But
Facebook,
you know
right?
what? You gotta do it.
He's a businessman. He's not a tech
he,
genius.
He did it. He did everything he could, and he did. So maybe he's a genius in his own way.
We'll find out. His story is still being told right
Yeah,
now as we
exactly.
speak, which is
Let's see.
interesting. June 2005, the following year, the world's angriest website, Reddit.
I love Reddit.
You have photocoches. Is it a similar thing where you're like,
Well,
todos debaten, ponen comentarios? It's kind of like a forum.
You can say it's similar thing, but I think Reddit is more, everybody's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But photo coaches is more like certain people.
Certain people are there, right? It's like an exclusive.
Exactly.
Yeah, Reddit
Like-
makes sense. Porque cuando alguien dice, where did you hear that? I read it on the internet. Lo leí. Entonces de ahí
The
viene
photo
el nombre.
coaches guys are, we say in Spain, the FIFAs. Los
Oh,
FIFAs.
okay. Yeah, we don't know. The thing is, we don't know them in the United States, but everybody knows Reddit.
Yeah.
Reddit is a news source, a gossip,
And Reddit
everything.
can be really funny.
Yeah,
I mean, it is
absolutely.
really funny.
Absolutely. February 2005, YouTube is born. And YouTube, I can't imagine. That's where I watch my TV, as you know. I don't really watch TV. In October 2006, YouTube was acquired by Google for $1.65 billion.
That was a good thing.
Yeah,
They did.
seriously. Yeah,
Whoever
serious.
did that, I mean,
Good job,
deserves-
Google,
yeah.
buying YouTube.
It was
Because
a good idea.
it was a great idea. It worked.
really cheap.
And then, now we're getting to one where you're going to really help me. The end of 2006, a few people get together on the Gran Via. Is that where it was?
No, at the beginning it wasn't there, but then we moved at Gran Via. No, we moved at Plaza de las Cortes, and then we moved at Gran Via. But that was like the end.
All right. All right. So the end of 2006, 20 was founded. And tell us a little bit about 20. What was the philosophy? How did it go from being this little startup into this huge, I mean, huge, when I say huge, 15 million registered users.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
It was at that time, and remember again, the iPhone wasn't launched at that time.
Yeah, 2007 was the
It was
iPhone?
2007.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the following year.
So I think everybody was using in general their computers, and the
Mm-hmm.
students especially, because the internet was huge, and everybody was there on the computer when they come back home from studying or wherever.
Right.
Remember the messenger? We were
Oh, yeah.
super
MSN
users
Messenger,
of-
sure.
because we want to still keep in touch with our friends.
Right. Talk
And
about
that
what
was
happened.
A free way to
Yeah.
having all of them together. Not all of them, but you can make like little groups of chatting.
Yeah. And you didn't have to
And-
spend money on a text message.
Exactly. And
Remember
it was really
that?
fun.
Yeah.
It was like kind of cool. So what I think it was a really good idea about 20 was it at the beginning it was you can just go through 20 through an invitation to 20. Sorry.
Gotcha. You had to get an invite. Okay.
Exactly. So it was kind of exclusive.
Okay.
And that makes it cooler, I think.
Sure, of course.
So it was for how do you say universitarios? Like,
University students, college kids.
it was for that people, but then step by step, it was. I mean, who wants to follow the university people, like the youngest ones?
Right. They
So
look
the-
up to them.
Exactly.
Meet
So
on you.
teenagers wanted, and almost all young people from. I think it was you gotta be 14. I think.
Okay.
If I remember, from 14 to 20 something, it was 20 people there.
Okay.
All of them, we were there, and I remember, and it was one of the highest, the biggest thing I remember. It was at the Mundial,
The World Cup.
the
Yeah.
World Cup, when Spain was having their
La selección, La Roja, sure.
the big match.
Their winning streak. Su
The
racha.
I mean, 20 was having at the same time the highest rates of use,
So it went hand in hand a little bit too.
because everybody wants to share their feelings,
Their
there
feelings,
with their friends.
pictures,
Because
comments.
20, what we had at that moment was a mix between messenger thing, because you can chat with all your friends, but the biggest thing was the pictures thing. So,
Gotcha.
for example, Sundays were the biggest day, because after weekend, what people used to make, we used to do was upload all the pictures, because we still don't have the iPhones or
Right.
that, but we had that.
You'd
that
have to
cameras.
go home, upload them to the.
Remember
yeah,
the cameras,
sure. Or
the
put the
digital cameras.
Or you would put the chip in the computer, sure.
So what we did was upload all the pictures without any filters, because remember at that time it
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
filters.
that was another thing.
That was a 20 generation pictures that we still have. Well, I still have those pictures in my computer. And
Sure.
when you think about it, it's like if I think about my nephew and niece, that they are in their teenagers, as I was when I used 20, and I wasn't that teenager. I was a little bit older, but I mean,
Right.
there was no filters. We were kind of genuine.
Yeah, what you see is what you get.
Exactly.
What you see. And now it's weird. I meet people and I'm like, oh, so that's what you really look like.
Yeah,
It's pretty crazy.
Everything changed really fast.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
20, but then with the iPhones and all that, everything, all the
It was that missing piece, that missing link that just brought it all together.
Yeah.
Because now you could take the picture, put it up, and comment in the same moment.
exactly, and chatting at the same time,
Sure.
and
then video came into play, and there were even games I remember at first, like farm animals
well,
and
20
things like
had
this.
all of that. We had our own player, which was not YouTube. So we have our revenue share deals with the content creators. So
Okay.
they upload their music, their stuff, like now with Twitch, kind of,
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
But 20 was earning money with that.
That's incredible. And to think that 20 was around the same time as Twitter they came out. Twitter came out also in March 2006. In 2007, our little friend, the hashtag,
Oh, yeah.
debuted. And that was huge because you could search by categories and things became a lot more searchable.
Well, it is like a before and after, as you said.
Absolutely. A before and after, a turning point. October 2008, Spotify goes live. Changes the downloading music and having it on.
Huge thing.
This was a huge thing. And then they added podcasts, which is another thing that's used and shared on social media,
Yeah.
such as this podcast. March 2010, Pinterest goes live. I've got to be honest, I know nothing about Pinterest. What can you tell me about it?
What is true is it was like the most feminine, if you want to say it,
Okay.
social network, because the majority of the users we were women,
Right,
and
gotcha.
especially girls, and it was like a collecting social network. I don't use it anymore, but I used to love it because, for example, if you like, I don't know, interior design, it was like a lot of pictures of interior design of different houses and
Right.
and I loved collecting that kind of things, and I don't know, relaxes me, look
Sure.
at that, and having ideas, getting ideas, and for that kind of creative minds, it was
Yeah.
a cool tool during a while.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I got to say, I've seen
It was
pages.
more visual than
Very
anything
visual.
else.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Then October 2010, Instagram was launched. It hit 1 million users by December in 2 months. April 2012, Facebook acquires Instagram for $1 billion US.
Yeah. Well, I think that was another good deal.
Another good purchase, una buena compra, right? July 2011, Snapchat. That was huge in the United States.
Well, it started here too in Spain, being huge. But I remember, if I remember, the Snapchat leader, CEO, was asked about the market in Spain if he was worried because it was more Instagram users than Snapchat users at one point, and he said something like he doesn't care about Spain or some European countries because we were poor people. or
Oh
something
my
like
goodness.
that. But well, look at Snapchat right
Yeah.
now.
Snapchat. And Mark Zuckerberg said, I'll take that idea
Yeah, exactly.
and reach more people. Well, September 2015, Snapchat introduced its filters feature. And now you could make yourself look more made up, más maquillada, or look like you're puking rainbows, or look like a cat.
Yeah.
How exciting.
This is the craziest thing to me. Like I have a friend that works in how do you say, like the surgery, cirugía estética.
Plastic surgery.
Plastic
She's a plastic
surgery.
surgeon. Yeah.
She works there. She's just a secretary, but she
Okay.
knows what people wanted because they go there and they ask for
right.
things. And what young people ask now is for having their faces like Instagram filters.
Oh,
like,
my
I
goodness.
want to look like this. And they show their faces with
the filter.
a Snapchat or an Instagram
Unbelievable.
filter. And it's like, make me look like this.
Oh my
And
goodness.
there is,
These filters have done a lot of harm, which we're going to talk about.
It is crazy right now. I'm super worried about that.
Yeah, especially having a young daughter
Yeah.
too. We got to be really careful. And we'll wrap up our timeline in the first part of the show here. September 2017. TikTok goes live internationally. First it was ByteDance or
Yeah.
whatever it was called, but this is when TikTok hit the world. By far the most controversial, but also the most popular now.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's the king right now. You can deny it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. The United States might not like it.
But it's the king. It's the king, and as you know, they have a little difference between the algorithm in Occident and the
In the West.
algorithm
Oh, yeah.
in China.
That's true.
Which is from China, as you know. And for example, in China, young people are the most heavy users, like
Yeah.
the heavy users, like
Sure,
in,
like here too.
in Europe and like in the States. But for example, they have their own rules. Like after, I think it was after 8 in the afternoon, they can't use the normal TikTok.
Sure, sure.
So they can just watch videos about certain subjects.
Like how to fix
How
things.
to build this
right.
or mathematical
Useful stuff.
things, but not gaming things.
Yeah,
or
not
that
wasting
kind of,
your time.
Well, entertaining.
Right,
We
right.
say entertaining because it's entertaining in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, China, I'm not defending what they do, but the thing is they are doing different than we are doing because here we don't have
There's no limit. There's no line.
limit.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, when you ask here young people what they want to do when they grow up, they say, first thing, influencers.
So sad. So sad.
But if you go to China and you ask them what they want to be when they grow up,
Engineers.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Or architects or that kind of stuff. And obviously, again, I'm not defending China because it hasn't anything to defend in myself, in my opinion. But it is different.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk. We've got to wrap up. We're going late over here, but we're going to, don't worry. This is interesting. We're having a great conversation, but we're going to continue this conversation in the bonus episode. Just a quick reminder, guys, there's a bonus episode every week where you can get PDF documents. You can even get classes with me. And if you want more information, go to patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. And I want to send a shout out to all my patrons, especially my super duper students, Javier, Paco, Roberto, Jose Maria, Mila, and Alex. And don't forget about my interstellar students, Carmen, Lina, Paco, David, and Edgar. If you guys want to find out more information on how you can join my curious community, go to patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. And in the bonus part, as I said, we're going to take a look at going viral. We're going to take a look at advertising and monetizing, fun facts, and the dark side. I sure hope you'll join us in the bonus episode of today's FYI.